According to the brain and the neurology, it's all the same thing. Thoughts are triggering the chemicals. What they are finding with scientists is these chemicals, these elevated ones, all of them are doing this, are upregulating and downregulating your genes, meaning they are turning on certain genes, they're turning off certain genes. And this technology is super simple. It's straight to the point, it's fundamental, and it's very, very easy to use, and it's profound. Om Maha Ganapataye Namaha. In this video, I'm going to share what I consider to be the most fundamental principle of manifestation or creation, or observing the reality that you want. However you want to look at particle physics, yogic science, how to fix the different problems in your life. This is the most, I would consider the most fundamental principle of all. And then after that, I'm going to share 2 ways to apply this. Now, the principle is purchase outcomes, not problems. What do I mean by that? You are purchasing your experiences of reality through the currency of your focus. What you focus on is what you experience as your reality. Now, we're looking at the concept here of karma, and particularly applying this to problems that are already existing. Karma we've also related to at a practical level as information being projected out, or a mindset, or a neurology, or an identity. They're all true. Now, part of this problem is 2 components. The first component is that problem, whether it's a relationship problem, it's a health problem, it's a money problem, it's some sort of problem that you're dealing with. First, it has to be initiated. It has to be catalyzed. Someone has to dump you. You have to get fired. You have to get a certain disease. The problem has to initiate some sort of cause, and that cause is this information or this mindset or identity that you have, which creates that particular problem. That's one. However, in order for that problem to continue to exist, it's not enough for it to be initiated or a catalyst to create it. It has to be sustained. If it is initiated but is reversed right away, in other words, then what we're calling as a problem is actually a non-issue. So, in order for the problem to exist, how do we sustain it? By continuing to focus on the problem. How it's a problem, how long you've had it, the people or the circumstances involved, how the problem happens, all these things that trigger it, what you're expecting it to happen by certain things. By focusing on the problem, by spending the currency of our focus, which is the most important thing as far as creation is concerned, is focus. Moment by moment, you are purchasing a future reality that all culminates into producing certain effects. Now, why you are sustaining it is because, remember back to karma, it's a neurology or an identity. That problem is being hosted or supported by an identity which is rooted in a neurology. The identity is a culmination of the neurology, which is a way of thinking or a mindset, thought patterns. You keep focusing on that problem because that is your default state or your identity, and therefore that problem will continue to exist. The solution is to not focus on the problem. It's not even to focus on how to solve the problem. You don't want to do anything to do with the problem. You want to reapply yourself and focus on the outcome. By focusing on the outcome, the problem will naturally fall away because your neurology and your identity will be rebuilt to identify with that outcome. Let me give you an example. Say it's a relationship problem. No matter what relationship you get into, you keep finding the same problem. Maybe the person, it doesn't matter. They dump you, they don't value you, they don't treat you well, or whatever it is. You're not, it's some sort of relationship problem. And it's just this chronic thing. If you continue to focus on this, then that becomes your identity. Now, however, if you focus on, everyone, people love me. whatever the outcome that you want to have. People love me. I have the best relationships. My relationships are fulfilling. What happens is your neurology reorients itself accordingly. Now this goes into the field of neuroplasticity, where they have established through many studies that the brain, even as an adult, is constantly adapting itself based on your thoughts and actions. The reason why as an adult it seems less likely as a child is because as an adult we have already at that point baked in a certain neurology. So when you think of something new that is outside of the framework of the neurology you have baked in, it does not stick or become part of your identity because your other identity is so crystallized and so baked in. And on a neurological level, your synapses have already strengthened so much that when a new connection tries to happen, it is not able to stick because all of your glue is being used. And so as a child, on the other hand, who is more like an empty, like a sponge, if you will, who is still in the process of formulating their identity, it's much easier to redirect or reorient themselves on a faster, more noticeable level, because it's not easy for them because they haven't baked in a solid identity. So now now we've established here focus. And if you want some more of the science of this, do check out some of my past videos. Browse my channel. You'll find a lot of videos where I go and share more in-depth studies and science. And for the context of this video, I want to keep it a little more short though and get more to the point. Now, I said I was going to share two applications of this. One of them I just alluded to. To bake in this new neurology is focusing on the outcome. And how do you focus on it? There's two ways to focus on the outcome that will take this a little bit further. This is also, you have to understand the concept of affirmations, mantras. It's important to be aware of these because that way you can understand these aren't arbitrary. It's important to know what you're doing. Affirmations, positive affirmations, what you're doing is you're trying to create a new identity. You're trying to reinforce a certain thought pattern. You're trying to reinforce a certain identity or creation. So, two ways. Number one, focus on the outcome in the present tense as if it has already happened. We know from studies like one done by Harvard where they were studying pianists. Two phases of the study. They wanted to see basically what would happen in the brain if they had the pianist physically play the piano and externally stimulate a certain experience, or versus them imagining they're playing the piano and see versus an externally stimulated experience versus an internally simulated experience. And what they found was, according to the brain, it is not able to differentiate between the stimulation and the simulation. According to the brain and the neurology, it's all the same thing. So we talked about how your brain is adapting based on all your thoughts and actions. What we're saying here is if you go and perform a certain action or if you visualize the certain action, it's exactly the same thing according to the brain. So by imagining the outcome that you want in the present tense as if it's already happened, what you are doing is you are literally rewiring your brain to create an identity that would support that effect or outcome from being a reality. So there is a science behind this. The effect or the reality that we experience is a byproduct of the identity, which is a byproduct of the neurology. The second way is through emotion. Now, this researcher, Joe Dispenza, has a great teachings about this, where he talks about what makes an experience is the emotion that we have. The stronger the emotion behind the experience, the more that experience is going to stick. And the more that it sticks, the more it becomes part of who we are. It becomes our identity. What makes us who we are. All those past things that you experienced in your childhood, depending where you're at, depending on what age you are, your adulthood or whatever, all that is culminated into producing the identity you have now. And what those milestones were things that created strong emotions, whether that was trauma or whether that was something that felt so good that it's something that stuck within you. So there are two kinds of emotions here that you want to focus on, and you want to pair that to almost bring that emotion, the outcome we just talked about, to life, is the emotion. Now, the emotion of gratitude and the emotion of fulfillment are the two emotions you want to focus on around that outcome. I'll give you a little bit of an idea how that works. Now, first, before I do that, I want to zoom in very quickly here on gratitude and fulfillment and why these are the two emotions. Gratitude tricks, if you will, or it signals your neurology that something has already happened. When do you feel grateful? When you receive something. When somebody gives you something, where they pay you a compliment or they give you a gift that you weren't expecting, oh my God, I feel so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this. It signals the neurology that's already happened. Fulfillment is exactly the same thing. When you receive something and it fills you up, it contributes to fulfilling you. It shows that you are fulfilled. It shows your neurology that you have received something. Something has filled you. You know, it's something that whenever you get something, you manifest a car you want, or a house you want, or a relationship you want, or you get a raise, or something good happens to you. It makes you feel fulfilled, in addition to grateful. So you can choose one or both of these and experiment with for yourself. I've had really good results with the gratitude, and I've also been experimenting with fulfillment as well. And what I've noticed is the whole gratitude fulfillment, it's really kind of ends up being the same thing when you actually start doing this. So now in the last part of this video, I'm going to now share about how you can bring it all together. So when you're focusing on the outcome, you want to associate that outcome. So this is very important, the word here. You want to associate the outcome with the emotion, whether that's gratitude or fulfillment, or both. So when you think of the outcome, it should automatically trigger an emotional response. Now, how to set this up is a little bit of manual simulation at first. You want to take some time, and maybe once in the morning, in the evening, and throughout the day, just for even if it's a few seconds or a minute, imagine or visualize, think about the outcome that you want. A really good time to do this is when the problem manifests itself. Instead of focusing on the problem, immediately reverse it by focusing on the outcome that you want to achieve. So if you don't want the problem, what do you want? Focus on that. Now when you do that, engineer an emotion. So you want to fake, if you will, fake or engineer the feeling of gratitude around that thing. And what happens by doing this over time, what I've noticed and observed is whenever I focus on that outcome that I've spent some time engineering, immediately the emotion will already come. And now, on a scientific level, what is an emotion? An emotion, what we experience as an emotion, is a chemical experience. Depression, sadness, fear, anger, happiness, joy, bliss, ecstasy. We experience these as different chemicals. And what is triggering these chemicals? Thoughts are triggering the chemicals. So what you're doing is you're training your brain whenever you think this particular thought to release these certain chemicals. And that's how eventually when you do this, it doesn't take very long. Less than a week you can get this to happen. At least I've experienced this. What happens is whenever you think that thought, the cascade of chemicals will release, and you will be reconditioning your identity, which is rooted in your neurology and also your biology and your genetic expression. What they are finding with scientists is these chemicals, these elevated ones, all of them are doing this, are upregulating and downregulating your genes, meaning they are turning on certain genes, they're turning off certain genes. Genes related to disease, not just health, but also genes related. Your genes also control your intelligence. They control everything about what makes you. They culminate into even your neurology and everything. They build everything. So your genes are so important. And this technology is super simple. It's straight to the point, it's fundamental, and it's very, very easy to use, and it's profound. So if you want a little bit more, I give a technique where you use midbrain tapping, which brings in another discipline, another science of reflexology, which was given to us by Dr. Pillai. There are subtle nervous areas on this part of your head, which correspond to certain areas of the brain. And I take you through this whole process. Look at the video called how to use it's electromagnetic intention. I'll put a link in the description. Also check out the video where I talk about how I use this technique to manifest a luxury apartment and a $450 raise in less than 6 hours. I'll put links to both those videos underneath this video. Now, if you have any questions, if you have any comments or requests, please feel free, and I encourage you to leave them underneath this video. I would love to hear from you. If you like the content, and if you found this helpful or useful, please click the like button so other people can find this video, and also share it with others who you think would find it valuable too. Because at the end of the day, as Gandhi says, be the change you want to see. In order to change our society and change the world, it starts with the individuals. It will be the individuals that change the world. That our society the way it is now is nothing but an effect of a majority of individuals. So please get this information out there if you found it helpful. And last but not least, if you want to be notified for future videos whenever I release new content, teachings, inspiration, science, research, all this stuff, make sure to click the subscribe button and also the bell notification button. Happy manifesting, and God bless.